All right, guys, welcome back to the Independent Investor Channel. Ryan here. A couple different ways of approaching the stock market and what stock picks you would like to put into your portfolio, whether it be from an active or a passive profile. You can take a dart and throw it at the dartboard behind me, or you can just tune into a very simple message like mine, where I share my portfolio. I show you where I'm putting my allocation to work in the portfolio going into 2021. This is going to be coverage of the self-directed Roth IRA account number one, guys. You're going to want to stick around throughout the entirety of the video as we roll out these picks to you and how we're seeking our exposure going into the new year, guys. Stick around. All right, guys, I'd like to welcome everybody back into the self-directed Roth IRA account number one. This is my account. You can see here some general themes here. Nothing too crazy, nothing too many changes. Some subtle changes in the portfolio, that of which I'll explain as we work through some of these holdings. I think some of my strategic goals toward the end of 2020 really allowed me to introduce some more large cap tech into this portfolio, as well as some large cap discretionary and also some growth into the portfolio. And there were some very specific, non-jarring reasons why I did that. It was a strong move. Time will tell whether or not those are the right moves or not. But I think it'd be really interesting to take these three larger accounts and really put them together and see how they kind of work and complement each other. There is no overlap. There are no holdings that I hold twice outside of Hyliion. I do own Hyliion actually in all three of the accounts. So I get some good long-term ability to hold the shares in the brokerage account, and then some tax-protected shares within each of the Roth IRA accounts. And so we'll that's the only one really in duplicate. The rest of these are held individually and aimed to complement the other holdings, as well as to embolden the sector exposure in each of these individual accounts and contribute to the total overall portfolio as a whole. All right. So the addition within here is Apple Computers. This is great. Nice, strong 50 share position on the top end. The complementary holding, in my opinion, to Apple Computers is Microsoft. So if you were building two portfolios simultaneously, they could fit together in the same, or they could be split, and you could really have what I consider to be the two flagship technology companies out there. Bar none. I just am very bullish in technology. It's my very favorite sector. And it just doesn't get any better for me than Apple and Microsoft. So Apple in this at 50 shares kind of kicks off the technology aspect. And then, like you guys can kind of understand about what I try to do is find a complementary old tech holding here. So with IBM, being that it's such a good dividend payer, I like to own IBM as well with over a 5% yield there. Apple sports a pretty good dividend too, but it really helps kind of balance old and what has become new tech really in Apple and 5G and the emergence of the potential for autonomous driving. So some exciting times. Honestly, tech is where you want to be anyway. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's nice to have this. It is a cornerstone within any portfolio. And I think anybody could own it for the long term and be just fine. The newest addition, I think, here to the portfolio worth noting is Alibaba. Alibaba was held in the aggressive growth portfolio with M1 Finance. I've since dissolved that portfolio away and leveraged those profits into the ARK ETF portfolio, that of which I roll out in separate videos on the channel. But Alibaba, it was one of those that I wanted to take a strategic crack at on the pullback And I believe I did that. I don't think I got the optimal entry, but I'm satisfied with the entry. I needed to embolden my discretionary sector exposure, and so grabbing Alibaba was a good way of doing that. I had already bought Amazon in the brokerage account. So when I talk about complementary holdings, Alibaba does that in this portfolio in discretionary, as I do believe it's one of two discretionary names. Yes, it is. McDonald's being the other one. So kind of important there to kind of give my strategic twist to that. It is a large position, no doubt about it, but I think the growth prospects for Alibaba are huge going forward, and I'd like to make this a long holding within the portfolio. The financials names within this, pretty simple. Come right down to Citigroup in here. So nice exposure here in financials to the loan financial in the portfolio, which is Citigroup, that has just run up nicely. It's up huge, and just nice to see that. I knew that was going to happen. And then the two growth names as well, also renderings from the aggressive growth portfolio that was dissolved away. I went ahead and increased the positions in each of these. I'm bullish on both of these, CRM, which is Salesforce.com, and Facebook. So nice to get that discretionary name, as well as a technology play in Salesforce. So big tech growth being added to the Dow Jones Industrial Average last year. Salesforce, nice addition. It's my favorite going into 2021, along with Lockheed Martin. I've got some specific favorites. Alibaba would make that list for sure entering into 2021. So it's nice to see that those are tucked in the tax protection of the Roth IRA here. This is what we're going into 2021 with, so we're hoping for good things out of this portfolio, and I believe we're positioned nicely to benefit here. Moving down the list, Johnson & Johnson being my healthcare, and Merck, my healthcare exposure names. J&J is probably just my favorite stock to own. Right behind Microsoft and Apple, J&J, those are the top three in my opinion. It is a stock that you can buy and own forever. It is by far and away my favorite healthcare stock, up nicely, just at 17.5%, and just a nice strong position there. It's making dividends and making capital appreciation. What else can I say about this fine company that's over 100 years old? It's just made stock owners in it rich. So I'm happy to own it long. Some staples exposure next on the list here with Kimberly-Clark and Coca-Cola. Those are just easy, sleepy holdings in the portfolio. Staples have come off just a touch. That's fine. It's no big deal. I don't mind owning those for the long term, and we'll continue to monitor those and maybe buy more shares and embolden the positions where I see nice entries. But those are just kind of holding true. We'll continue to own those. In oil, Royal Dutch Shell and ExxonMobil are my big oil in here. Some big holdings that I really took into some really big downturns. Those were just nasty positions for a while, close to down 50%. And we've really fought back in both of those. I've strategically bought it on the way down, and I think there's some huge upside for both of these. So we're just going to continue to hold them. I think the dividends are safe in both companies, and we'll just continue to own them and enjoy some capital appreciation going forward as oil gets its legs underneath of it and really starts to improve. And then we've got Walgreens Boots Alliance, I believe is a staple, if not a healthcare like CVS. But I don't believe that it is. I may be mistaken on that, but Walgreens really took me into some deep water for a while. It's recovering nicely, which is nice to see. Nice dividend payer there. And then my real estate exposure is made up of a single name, W.P. Carey, and the VNQ, which is the Vanguard's real estate ETF REIT, which has just been absolutely clobbered as a result of the pandemic. And then finally, to round out the industrials exposure within the portfolio, you got a large position in Raytheon Technologies. which is nice. And that I'm reviewing is the only, yeah, it is, Industrials Holding. We may have to remedy that. So if there's any room for improvement here. But nonetheless, that rolls out the total portfolio here for Roth IRA number 1. And we'll kick you back to YouTube and we'll conclude the video.
All right, guys. So we've come out of the review, the self-directed Roth IRA account. This is actually my account. It's approaching the $120,000 mark, securely in the six-figure range. We really want to try to build this up over the next few years, really get it up to that really established mark. You know, the next goal for this is $250,000 in this account. I hope you guys appreciated the message that we're putting through on my wealth building mission. I would only hope to empower one investor at a time through tuning in to my empowering message through YouTube. If you enjoy the content that you have viewed and have got me putting through on the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the message, share the message with anybody out there that you know would appreciate and relate with how I'm wealth building, how I seek my exposure in the market. Leave your comments at the bottom of the video as well. If you disagree or agree with the stock picks that I've put forward and how I've built out this portfolio, I'd love to hear your comments and strike up a discussion to help other investors as well. The power of social media allows us to put through and share how we're seeking our exposure and building wealth as individuals. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the message, and good luck in your investment future.